Okay, nandito naman tayo ngayon sa klase natin and it is indeed the last topic for our first time, for our finals. Okay, so our topic for this Psychology 111 or General Psychology is Social Psychology. Okay, so Social Psychology is indeed the branch of psychology that study the behavior of individual in a social setting. So it is indeed psychological, but there is a mixture, okay, of sociology rather. So para siyang psychology in sociology setting, okay? Medyo tricky siyang pakinggan, no? But indeed, we are studying here behavior in a social setting. Ganun lang siya kadali. So it studies the effect of individuals of others person. So paano siya makipaghalubilo, social kasi ito. As a discipline, it is concerned with the social attitudes and groups behavior. Hindi na siya pang individual kasi may part kasi ng psychology which is parang individual lang yung may part na individual lang yung inistudihan, may part din na inistudihan ng individual in a setting of madaming tao or other persons. Okay? A social attitude is a combination of feelings, ito yung social attitude, beliefs, and action. So, ano yung social attitude? So, toward classes of people. So, yun yung attitude nila towards other people. Kaya nga sa social. Okay? Or indirectly social in nature. Thus, an attitude has three parts. So, ito yung social attitude. One of that is the belief or knowledge. The beliefs or knowledge. Or the cognitive component. Second is feelings or emotional motivational component na nafe-feel natin sa other people socially. Next is tendencies to act, particularly ways on the basis of knowledge and emotions and performance of the components. So, attitudes are sometimes referred to as social concept. No, meaning na build up lang yung attitudes natin by how we interact with other people. There are generally, though not always, concepts about classes of people and they are concepts with a prominent evaluative character. So now these concepts provide a way of responding to all members of a given class. So ito daw po yung concept na to, na mana daw natin to or siguro na-learn natin sa society. And itong learning natin sa society, ito rin yung ginagamit natin to interact with that society kung saan natin siya na-learn. Okay? So attitude serves as guide to future behavior. They are an important basis for consistency, for we always respond in the same way to class members. Attitudes can be learned both by direct examples and by instructions from others. So may nakita ka or sinabihan ka ng iba. They can be organized according to the principles of consistency. So di ba, oftentimes talaga, if you are talking about attitude, meaning paulit-ulit mo yung ginawa, naging attitude mo na yan. So, there is indeed this connection of consistency kung paano tayo makipaghalubilo na matatawag natin yung attitudes. So, ito yung meaning, di ba? It is social concepts, it is beliefs. And this attitude states that the attitudes held by the particular individual are mutually supportive and do not conflict with each other. So, ano naman yung prejudice? Kasi we are talking about here behavior o yung behavior daw ng isang tao, no, sa other tao in a social setting. So, prejudice is a kind of attitude pa rin, consisting of combination of feelings, of course, beliefs, and action and tendencies. Oftentimes kayo pag prejudice natin, judgment to, parang ganun. Puli siyang positive judgment, so it is often matter of prejudgment. Sabi ko nga, the implication is that one has made up his mind too soon, no, before all facts are in and or has come. So, ito yung nangyayari. Kasi pre kasi siya before. Pre or sa unahan. Before judgment or bago pa nagkameron ng judgment. So, nakadecide na po daw yung mind na hindi pa tapos malaman niyang lahat. Para sa pre-judgment. Pre-war, hindi pang war. Before pa nagsimula. Mayroon ka ng pre-judgment sa isang tao, meaning hindi mo pa siya alam na husgahan na agad. Ganun, may something na ganun. Prejudice is usually, though not always, highly emotional in character, rigidly. So, kind of like negative or inflexibly felt and acted on by group members or meaning they won't listen to reason talaga. Or negative, or the object of the prejudice is disliked and the group tendency is to mistreated or discriminated against members in dislike. So, pag prejudice, yan yung social psychology na istudihan natin, focus. Okay, so yan yung mga aspects na istudihan ng social psychology, attitudes, behavior, and of course, prejudice. Okay, so yung nag-study dyan mga social psychologists. And of course, we have here interpersonal character. Before one can develop a friendship, there must be an opportunity to interact with other person. Okay, so physical proximity is important in determining friendship. Living near someone, kapitbahay mo, ganon, to produce interaction. Another factor is frequency of interaction, so gaano ka-intense. The more frequent you interact with someone, the more likely the friendship will develop. However, frequently interaction does not guarantee liking. Oftentimes, sometimes kasi, frequent interaction, naiinis ka, medyo may ganun, okay? Friendship is more likely if two people share the same sex, race, occupation, or career, objectives, socioeconomic status, age, attitudes, and so on. Similarity may affect friendships, oftentimes, indirectly by affecting physical proximity and frequency of interaction. Of course, kasi ito din inistudihan ng mga social psychologists, okay, is how we socialize psychologically. Similarity, of course, in friendship. You become close to the person, you become friends, kasi nga you have similarity. There are likely to be people with similar attitudes near you. Okay? Meron ba? Thus, the important effect of the friendship could be frequency of contact, which in turn caused by similarity then. Some cases of friendships may come about through complementary needs. So, same ka ng needs, same ka ng pangangailangan, magtulungan kayo para makuha niyo yung pangangailangan niyo. And mutual benefits naman. Paris to, since same complementary needs, same kayo ng pangangailangan, oftentimes, yung mga benefits din na nakuha nyo, same na din kasi same kayo ng kailangan. Same din ng benefits. The people can deliver to each other, determine friendship. Yung mga ganun. Kailangan mo siya, kailangan kanya, your friends. And now, this notion of mutual benefit as a factor in friendship is known as social exchange theory. So, may kailangan kayo sa isa-isa, kailangan nyo isa-isa. Social exchange yung mangyayari. And of course, we're going to have here nature of positions and roles. Okay? Kasi in terms of society kasi, studying society, you must know each one's roles and positions to study that. And it's important in social psychology. Now, a position is a place, function, or an office. So, ano yung position niya? In our culture, we classify people by age, sex, addition to other ways. Male ba siya, female, category, child ba, bata, middle age, each other, and broadly defined positions or duties. Some position in society are based on the character. So, ito yung character mo kasi yung position mo. Each of the member, the positions either the same time or successiveness. Usually, we are able to choose positions which are not incompatible in the requirement and such schedule of activities, so actually discharge satisfactorily, responsibilities involved. So, ito yung nangyari. Pag meron kang roles, of course, you have responsibilities. And dapat, in order to know a person, alam natin yung roles nila, kailangan din natin malaman yung responsibilities nila. Along with the various positions usually go, various symbols, prestige, and such, insignias, titles, uniforms, prestige. So, kalakip to ng position talaga, itong mga titles na to. Now, a role, yung meaning ng role, is a set of behavior which is typically the occupants of the particular position. So, may position ka kasi may role ka sa buhay mo. Example, yung role mo, father ka, ama ka ng tahanan, yun yung position mo. Some of the behavior of the role pattern are more typical than others. They are more central features of the role. All housewives prepare and serve meals. The occupants of the positions usually carry of the role the characteristic style and emotional tone. For example, diplomats are expected to be dignified in the state occasions. So, may mga expectations na talaga nakalaki sa mga roles. People have norms or standards of behavior for roles and also expectations regarding how people in a position will behave. So, yan yung role mo, father ka, dapat ka mamuhay ng ganyan, yan yung gawin mo, kasi nga, expected na yan sa'yo. So, yan yung norm, kumbaga. It is important that role expectation will be valid. And that is conforms to the reality. So, hindi naman pwede na hindi siya realistic. Ito yung gusto ko kasi imagination ko to, hindi pwede yan. In this way, people will be able to predict how others will act. Kasi, pag wala tayong nakaset ng roles, meaning you are free to do what you want. Na oftentimes na baka invalid na. Okay? Hindi ka matatama. Magiging tama niyan. A discrepancy between role norms, okay, and role expectation usually leads to tension and may modify the direction of expectation. So, oftentimes talaga, yung rules talaga natin, tumpak sa norms natin, role norms. No? So, ginagawa. Example, yun nga, example dyan, ina ka, nasa bahay ka, nagbabantay ka ng children, you are rearing the house, you are nurturing the home, because you're a mother. Yun yung madalas na rin na naririnig, di ba, ng mga roles. People learn the roles from models through instructions in practical situations. So, na-learn natin sa pagipaghalubilo natin socially. It is often valuable to be able to carry over into a new situation. The learning which one has obtained in other situations, ideally, however, a person should be able to have available many different ways of acting that he can bring to bear a particular situation according to its demands. Flexibility is carrying out roles involves adapting. So, oftentimes kasi meron tayong tinatawag na multiple of roles. Na madami tayo, no? Example, yung role mo estudyante ka, one role mo yan. How about anak ka? So, you really have to be flexible. Example, sa mga tao na kahalubilo mo. Kasi nga, matatawag kasi natin na role yan, ginagampanan natin yan in front of other people. Okay? So, you must be flexible. So, social influence and conformity naman tayo. Kasi, example, pag may role kasi yung isang tao, he has automatically an influence. But sometimes, makipaghalubilo siya, there is indeed a need for conformity para ma-close ng ibang tao. Now, the mere presence of others as audience or co-workers without verbal exchange affects individual performance, a phenomenon known as social facilitation. Meaning, yung presensya pa ng isang tao, there was this one before kasi nauso yung CCTV camera. Sa opisina nila yung unang mga first nilagyan. Before daw, pag wala pa CCTV, hindi nagtatrabaho yung company. The moment they put CCTV camera, meaning kasi it is an indirect presence, although digital lang. Okay? Naging nagbago na yung performance nila. So, indeed, the presence of others workers, affects us. Okay? People tend to feel uncomfortable, even unhappy when they are alone in their actions, out of steps without a crowd. When individuals behave in full accord with the values of the social group, there is conformity. Conformity is a rational process of reflecting and recognition of the validity of other viewpoints. Now, perception of a given situation is the same as the social group, and there might be conformity despite differences. Okay? So, here's the questions to study. So, define what is social attitudes and give its components. Yung tatlo yata yun. What is prejudice? Name some types. How can one develop friendship? Describe the nature of positions and roles. And give the significance of conformity. So, here's a recommended reading. You can also read. And right now also, let's move on to our very, very last topic. Psychology at work. So, indeed, kinda like parang lahat ng topic natin, sinum up na dito. How can we work psychology in our lives? Kasi oftentimes kasi, yung psychology kasi, it is associated with darkness, dark psychology, mother hypnotism. And it's bad. Of course, we know it. But then how can we use it for the sake to make our life positive for our sake of our benefit? Okay, so let's have this topic now. So psychology as work. So today, there is much concern about the roles that employees, labor unions. Kasi, okay, bakit siya related dito? And government should pay in determining wages, work, and conditions the right to hire or to fire. Kasi, whether you like guys, you're in school, nag-aaral ka kasi gusto mo magkatrabaho or maggawa ng business. And in case of employing kasi, magiging trabahante ka, well, mostly kasi sa trabaho kasi to, psychology at work, mostly kasi sa employer, guys, especially yung HR, yung nag-hire sa'yo, is mga psychology graduate. They are major in psychology, major in human resource, ganun, or organizational psychology. So, how can you use psychology for your advantage? So, with the coming of automation, the problems become even more complex since there is less and less demand for unskillful and semi-skilled more than demand highly skilled technicians. So, ito yung problema daw. Problems in the area of employer-employee relationship will continue to increase and can be solved only by application of sound principles of vocational and employment of psychology. Kasi oftentimes kasi, machines na yung gumagamit ay nag-process ng requirements. Okay? So, oftentimes, baka nakita natin, ang okay na to siya, pasado siya. Pero without the evaluation of psychologists or maybe the human resources, mahihirapan po magkakita tayo ng mga employee pala na matino. So, in the wise choice of a vocation, whether it is a job profession or vocational guidance is needed. It is high act of helping boys and girls to plan their own actions wisely. So, paano ka ba makakapili ng trabahong angkop sa iyo? In the full light of all facts that can be mastered about themselves. Yung master naman about the world in which they will work and live. It is designed to assess young people in making wise decisions about their choice or career. And also, it seeks to predict future behavior from present performance. Example, yung psychology, mga human resource na tatakil niyan, ay ito yung expectation mo, maybe ito yung behavior mo, ito yung body language mo. May mga ganun silang mga tinitignan sa employer. So, what about finding the right job? Paano makita yung trabaho mo? So, any employment requires certain qualification, whether we like it. Hindi pwedeng, yung presensya mo lang kailangan. Hindi, kailangan mo talaga magtrabaho. Ano yung qualifications? Hindi yung pwedeng backer lang on the part of the individual. By the way, there was this post of Sara Duterte. Patok siya ngayon na tumakbo ang presidente. Nag-post siya about kasi sa mga dito. So, about qualifications, by the way, segue ko lang. Ayaw niya kasi yan. So, how can we find the right job? Of course, finding the right people that can do the right job. Especially, psychology can help solve individual's problem in his search for the right job. No? Makakatulong yung psychology sa iyo. The person has to consider the worker, specifications, which are requirements that the management set for the job, and which the individual must meet if he is not to be hired. First dyan, of course, education. May pinag-aralan ka ba? Most typically, kung yung in-applyan mo talaga trabaho, there is indeed an educational attainment needed. There are certain educational requirements needed for any job kind. Pwedeng elementary lang, okay lang. Example, ang high school lang, okay na yun. Mostly, meron yung research sa sociology talaga na of course, more education, more job opportunity na ma-open sa'yo. Okay, so, pwede ka bang mag-masteral or doctorates? Kind of like in terms of education. For some, a high school education is sufficient, with others they must bachelor's, master's, doctorate degree, or even specialized courses. So, may mga nag-proceed pa ng other degree, which may last from a weeks to several months or even longer. Intelligence. A number of psychological surveys have shown a close relationship between an individual's level of general intelligence and his success in a particular occupation. So, of course, katalinuhan din. No? Kailangan din yan. Katalinuhan. A person is likely to commit errors if his intelligence is lower and falls below the means of occupation. So, of course, tinitest yun kung matalino ka ba, especially yung in-applyan mo, there's need of intelligence. Example, if you're in academy, you're sharing knowledge there, are you capable to teach? No, ganun. Mga ganun. If you're a researcher, of course, it's needed. On the other hand, if his intelligence is much higher than is typically found a job, he may soon become bored since the job doesn't offer him challenge to his ability. Wow naman, no? May mga ganito na hindi ka na-challenge sa job mo kasi sobrang talino mo. You're overqualified, by the way. Of course, we have the special abilities. Okay? So, most occupations require that individual possesses certain special abilities. Now, for one to become a surgeon, you must have this good vision, good motor coordination pag doctor ka. Experience has shown that people who have been successful in their professions vary in their special abilities. This is due to the fact that different occupations demand. So, may mga ganito. No? Although you have the same profession, pero may iba talagang special abilities. Example, in terms of speaking, iba sila mag-speak. In terms of leadership, may mga special abilities na tinitignan natin. Of course, physical ability. Of course ba naman, no? Kung may sakit ka, hindi pwede. No? Dapat healthy ka. Temperament, no? Vocational successes and satisfaction are definitely related to person's temperament. So, yung gusto niya. Now, this is especially true to people whose jobs require them to deal with others face-to-face. Situations such as executive, policemen, and supervisors, teachers, mga ganon. Meron din tinatawag dito na social intelligence, which is the ability to get along with people. No? Ito din yung mga temperament na tinatawag natin, dealing with other people. No? We need this, especially in social psychology. Is an important determinant of successful adjustment in many situations. Kasi, example, mostly kasi sa trabaho ka, meron kang kliyente or may hingin ng tulong sa iyo. Example, pag nasa services ka, no? Yan talaga yung mostly. And you really have to have this social intelligence para makipaghalubilo ka sa kliyente mo. Interest, may interest ba yan siya sa trabaho niya? Ganon. So, finding the right employee naman tayo. Paano maghanap ng right employee? We know the certain characteristics finding the right jobs, you must have qualifications. But how about finding the right employee? So, kung ikaw to nakikinig ngayon, are you that one? Maging right employee ka someday, or can you be that one? Okay, so when employers select their personal care list, both employer and employees pay the cost. Totoo. If the inefficient worker is kept on or is eventually replaced, the tendency of the employer is to lose his valuable time and money. It is important to find the right employee talaga, so as to prevent excessive turnover and absenteeism, increase efficiency, and minimize accidents or spoilage, yung pagsasayang. Okay? Now, to find the right employee, employers sometimes make use of selection devices as letter application, yung mga ganon, paano sila gumawa. Now, paggawa ng letter application, ito yung intention niya, ito yung qualification niya, letter of recommendation, no? Or photographs, but none is very effective. Careful analysis or kaya ini-interview, no? Application blanks may be important value in predicting behavior. A careful standardized personal interview can also be an effective selection device. An interview talaga para makritik talaga. Touching on the applicant's personal, educational, and vocational background, the interview serves as basis for determining his suitability for particular jobs. So, sometimes kasi sa mga interview, I've been there sa mga interview, no? Tinatouch talaga yung personal mo, yung ugali mo, paano ka, no, binibigyan kayo ng situation pag ini-interview ka na sa job mo, no? Paano kung masama yung ugali mo? Mga ganun, paano kung inaway ka? Tinitignan nila dyan kung ano yung response mo dyan. Okay? What's your answer then? Of course, we also have psychological tests. Okay, so first natin dyan is the best devices for predicting employee suitability are psychological tests. Now, if conducted by expert, this test can contribute to efficiency by personnel selection, placement or classification, and adjustment. So, may mga marunong sila nito yung mga psychologists talaga. Meron tayo ditong personality inventories. No? This is an instrument for measuring personality traits by having individual give information about himself. So, nakikita dito kung ano yung personality ng isang individual. No? So, oftentimes, kung suit ba siya sa trabaho niya, baka kasi yung personality niya hindi suit sa trabaho niya. Kailan siya ay lipat sa iba na suited sa trabaho niya para makagalaw siya doon ng maayos. At present, most commonly used inventory tests are cadre preference record and the different aptitude, mga ganon. Assess their three interests. So, the respondent scores indicates areas of major interest lie with the experience, occupation, interest, selected. So, meron natin tinatawag ito nga DAT, no, or differential aptitude test. Is a battery of tests that measure basic aptitudes which are related to potentiality in many different kinds of occupation. Of course, meron din situational test. May mga situation. This is about behavior. Binibigyan ka ng situation. Anong gagawin mo dyan? Okay? Situational tests are used to measure important personality traits which are very complex or not well defined. So, depende sa iyo kung anong sagot mo. Titignan nila dyan kung paano ka mag-react. It is also used to determine the relative effectiveness of given job. Example, may nareklamong client, magagalit ka rin ba or tatahan ka lang, no? I-chill mo yung lahat para walang gulo. Mga ganon. Bibigyan ka ng situation. And of course, let's have this understanding human behavior in organization. Kasi it is important. Okay? So, of course, in an organization, there yung naglalakad dyan mga tao. And paano naglalakad yung mga taong yun in their positions? Connected dyan yung behavior nila. Okay? And there are times when despite adequate wages and reasonable hours, employees are still dissatisfied. May mga ganon. The problem can sometimes be traced to the failure of management, sometimes union officials, to understand that the workers are human beings lang din. No? Walang perfecto. It is important that management should gain greater insight into the needs of employees as human beings. In modern industries, the work of the most products is broken down into many stages. So each performed by different individuals. No, parang kinakategorize talaga yung mga trabaho. No? Since the person will never get the satisfaction of seeing final product in his efforts. Boredom. Example ito, no? Yung in modern industries, most products are broken down into many stages. Example, Ford, no? Yung Ford. Meron kasi nangyaring alienation between workers yan. Example, yung iba, ligid lang yung ginagawa nila, ligid. No? Gulong lang. Yung iba, manobela. Hindi nila nakikita talaga yung finished product na Ford na kotse. Meron yun sa sociology. In the concept of Karl Marx sa conflict theory na nagkakameron doon na alienation yung mga workers, no, nasasad sila, no, or walang pleasure nangyari kasi they will never get satisfaction of seeing the final product sa ginawa nila kasi nga binobroken down yung mga product na ginagawa nila. Example sa mga Shopee, typically, yung iba dyan, iba yung tagagawa ng karton, no, may mga ganun, iba yung taga putos, magkaiba lahat. Thereby, he searches for someone or something to blame. He may grab this opportunity to stop working. So Floyd Roch suggested several pointers on how industrial monotony can be corrected. One is select the right workers talaga. Schedule right periods, no? Kailangan siya, yung mga schedules. Allow social contract talaga ang mangyari. Plan after work activities, dapat ganon. Show how the job is important. No? Dapat ipakita mo sa kanila na importante yung trabaho. Build pride in the company. No? Dapat talaga makita ng i-uplift mo yung employee mo. Okay? So, build, identify with the enterprise system. Many progressive corporations conduct discussions on the educational program. So, kailangan tayo ng building talaga sa enterprises na improvement. Especially knowledge. No? Understanding sa business. Parang may iba ginagawa ang mga seminar na para malaman talaga yung trabaho nila. And of course, the need to belong, no? Kailangan tayo ng employer, close yung mga employee. Kasi may mga times kasi ng employee, wala nang belongingness kasi nagko-compete for the promotion. So, yung nangyayari dyan, yung production tuloy nasisira kasi nga nakikipag-compete, yung iba nag-aaway. And of course, there is a need for communication between two-way communication. Meaning, two-way communication, no? Hindi lang ikaw nag-uutos sa kanila communicate. Dapat din, kung leader ka or employer ka, kinakausap mo sila, nakakausap ka din nila. No, two-way communication yan. No, yan yun. Written ba siya o kahit saan, gusto makausap ka niya, ma-chat ka nila. Para there is a pre-communication. Hindi lang yung ikaw yung utos ang utos. Pag may request na hindi mo sila pinapakinggan. So, there's a need to that, no, if you are an employer. So, here's a question for study. What is vocational guidance? No? What are the requirements necessary in getting a job? Define social intelligence. Name the devices used in personal selection. How can industry minimize monotony? So you can also read here other readings for your own benefit para mas malaman mo pa more knowledge in terms of social psychology. Yun lang po and thank you.